Hi, and welcome to Easy Cooking and Living with Ria. Today, I want to share with you a video on how to make a very popular Trinidadian dish, and it is called Pelau. It's a rice, chicken, and peas one-pot dish. It's so very simple and easy to make. You're going to love it. As a lot of you know, I was born and raised in Trinidad, and I came to the US when I was 12 years old. But while I was in Trinidad growing up, I spent a lot of time with my grandmother in the kitchen, and she's taught me so many recipes. And as I go back home to visit, I spend some time with my mom and aunts and uncles in the kitchen, and they really teach me how to make these dishes, and I want to share it with you. And when you're craving some Caribbean food, you can just whip this up in an hour. It's so easy to make, and I'm going to show you how to make it. So let's get started. So the first thing we want to do is cut up our chicken really small. I have some chicken breast, I have some chicken thighs and other pieces of chicken in here from a whole chicken that I cut up into big pieces earlier. And what I'm going to do is we're going to cut these pieces into smaller pieces. You want to trim all your fat off of the chicken, any kind of skin, excess fat, because we want a nice lean chicken. If you don't like bones in your chicken, you can definitely buy boneless chicken. I would buy some boneless breast or boneless chicken thighs and add it to this recipe if you're not a big fan of bones in your food. We use a lot of bone-in chicken in recipes in Trinidad. We find that the bones give a really nice flavor to the food, so I'm not opposed to having my chicken cut up into small chunks with bones in them. I'm also cutting this leg up into halves or into threes because it's pretty big. And that's pretty much it. These are the pieces of chicken. I'm going to go ahead and wash them and get them prepared for seasoning. It's in this bowl. As you can see, the chunks are nice and small. So these are the ingredients that we're going to need for our seasoning. We're going to need some pepper, salt, some green seasoning, and I'm going to tell you more about green seasoning a little later and how you can make it yourself. I bought it pre-made at the grocery store. Some chopped up garlic. I have some frozen green peppers, some chopped up onions, scotch bonnet pepper, chopped up carrots. We have 2 tablespoons of ketchup, some sugar. I use brown sugar, and oil. Some vegetable oil works fine. And 2 cups of coconut milk. And please don't forget to take a look in the description for the exact measurements and all the ingredients that I used to season my chicken and for this recipe. And a can of pigeon peas. This is the pigeon peas I use. It's the brand called Goya. You can find it in the international aisle along with your green seasoning. We're going to need some Worcestershire sauce. I could never say that word. And some liquid aminos. You can use soy sauce. I'm using my liquid aminos. And then some rice. I'm also using brown rice instead of parboiled white rice. Now we're going to go ahead and season our chicken with 1 tablespoon of salt, half a teaspoon of black pepper, I actually used more than half a teaspoon right there. I think I used about 2 tablespoons. We're going to add in a 1/4 cup of our green seasoning. I got this from the international aisle. It's already pre-made, and I actually added in some more cilantro in there. We're going to add in 2 tablespoons of garlic and about a half cup of chopped onions. We're going to add in about a tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce. This gives the meat a little brown color and also adds a nice little flavor to our chicken. I'm going to add my liquid aminos in here. Usually we use soy sauce in the Caribbean, but I'm actually going to use my liquid aminos because that's what I have in my pantry. And I just used 1 tablespoon. And we're going to mix our seasoning really well with a spoon, just mixing it, getting the season all over that chicken. Oh my gosh, I can smell this right now. It smells so good. You can smell the fresh herbs. I actually bought the pre-made green seasoning at the grocery store at the international aisle and just added some cilantro and cilantro to it, to the mixture, just to make it a little more fresh. But buying the pre-made works just fine for me. You can also look up online to see how to make green seasoning, what's in the pot. Sean from What's in the Pot makes a really good green seasoning, or Chris from Caribbean Pot makes a really good seasoning. So if you want to see how to make Caribbean green seasoning, please check them out on their YouTube channel. So that is our seasoned chicken. It looks really good and smells amazing. You can let this marinate for about 1 to 2 hours in the fridge before cooking. And then I forgot to add in the ketchup in there, so we're going to add our ketchup. The ketchup helps the meat to caramelize when we're browning it, to give that really nice brown color to the chicken, which is ultimately what we're looking for our chicken to get when we're browning it. So we're going to mix everything up really good, and we're going to let it marinate for about an hour or two. You can do this overnight and put it in the fridge and cook it the next day. I just let this marinate for about an hour before cooking. So here we have it. It smells so good and it looks really nice and seasoned. We love our meats to be really seasoned in the Caribbean. So now we're going to go ahead and cook our chicken. We're going to go ahead and add 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil to the pot. I'm using a really heavy pot. I'm using my Dutch oven to make this dish. The pot's nice and heavy, and it can really caramelize your chicken really well. So I'm adding to this oil 2 tablespoons of light brown sugar. It's really better to use brown sugar, but this is what I had at hand right now. So now this part is really important. You don't want to step away from this process. You want to keep stirring your brown sugar. Eventually, it'll start melting and start getting like a light brown color to the sugar, and eventually get a darker caramel color. So you just want to be patient at this time right now. Don't leave it and walk away to chop up any vegetables or anything. You just want to keep stirring it. And I have the heat at a medium high. As you can see, it's starting to melt. We have that light brown color coming in, which is perfect. And I'm stirring and stirring and stirring. It takes about a couple minutes for it to really start melting. So now you can see that it's really starting to melt and it's getting darker in color. You just want to be really patient. If you let this burn, your chicken is going to taste bitter. So you want to make sure and get it to the right color, right texture, and consistency. So now that it's getting a little darker brown, that's perfect. We're going to continue. It's not ready to throw it. We're not ready to throw in our chicken just yet. We want to see it getting a little frothy. Once the sugar starts getting frothy, that's the moment you're going to throw in your chicken. So it's almost ready. Right now it's a darker caramelized look. I'm going to stir this up again. As you can see, I haven't stepped away from this. We're just continuing to stir. It can, if you use a lighter pan, this process can like get really hot really fast, and you can burn your sugar. If you burn your sugar, just go ahead and throw it away and start over again, because if you throw your chicken in there and you cook it, you're going to have a totally different taste. So we're just continuing to stir it, and it's getting darker, and in a minute it's going to get a little frothy. You're going to get a little bit of smoke, so I have my vent fan on over the microwave, and now you can see the froth is starting to form. This is when your sugar is getting to that perfect consistency for you to throw it in. This is the moment where your sugar can burn, so you have to pay attention and just keep stirring. And now is the perfect time for you to throw in your chicken. This is how we make brown stew chicken in Trinidad and in the islands. So we're going to just throw in our chicken, and we're going to just let it sit there so the chicken can just get caramelized on the bottom, and just leave it let it sit there for like a minute, and then we're going to start stirring. And as you start stirring, the chicken is going to just let out its own juices, and we're going to just let that cook. So now we're going to give it a nice little stir, and you're going to see the color starts coming through in the chicken. It's a nice dark brown. This looks good and it smells so good. So this is what browning the chicken looks like in the Caribbean. So we're going to keep stirring this. And now we're going to let it just cook a little, and you're going to see that the chicken will start letting out some of its natural juices. So we're continuing to stir it, and then we're going to leave it alone for about 5 to 10 minutes. It's going to let out its own juices, and we're going to let it cook down. It's coming along nicely. As you can see, it's cooking in its own water that it's let out as it's cooking. So we're just going to let this cook for a few more minutes, about 5 to 10 minutes, until all the water is kind of dried up. As you start turning it, as it's drying up, the chicken gets browner and it starts frying up in the pan, which is what we want. And then we're going to add in our rice. It's looking good, so let's give it a stir. As you can see, the liquids are drying up and the chicken's getting a little more brown. So we want to let this cook down even more and let that juices really dry up and fry up your chicken. I think this is looking really good and it smells delicious. I can't wait to eat this dish later. It's coming along really nicely. You can see that the chicken is frying up really nice and the color is really nice and brown and vibrant. So we're going to go ahead and throw in our rice now. So I'm actually using brown rice. It's brown jasmine rice, organic jasmine rice. That's just what I have in hand, but in the Caribbean we use parboiled white rice, or you can use parboiled brown rice. We're going to turn this up, getting the rice all over, seasoning it, and fry it up with the chicken. As you can see, all the liquids have evaporated. So it took about a good 15-20 minutes for this process because the chicken did let out a lot of liquids. So now we're going to just add in our 2 cups of coconut milk, which I bought in the can, but you can make your own coconut milk if you feel adventurous. So we're going to give this a nice stir. It smells so good. The coconut milk gives such great flavor to this dish. I'm now going to go ahead and add in my frozen green peppers. A lot of times we use pimento peppers in the Caribbean, which gives really great flavor, but I did not have any at hand, or I couldn't find any at the store. And then I'm going to throw in there a scotch bonnet pepper and then our chopped carrots. So the scotch bonnet pepper, we just leave in there whole and let it cook. We don't cut into it. It gives a nice flavor and it'll just kind of like cook down with the chicken. And it's not that spicy. You can get, maybe like a more red scotch bonnet pepper if you want spicy. This is more of a medium heat kind of pepper. So now we're just going to add 2 cups of water, and I used the same bowl that had the seasoned chicken in there, so you have the residual seasoning as you're pouring the water in there. I added a little more than 2 cups in here because I'm using brown rice, and brown rice tends to cook a little longer than the white rice. So we're going to stir this around, and we're going to let this cook for about 40 minutes. And we're going to lower our heat and let this simmer down. I put it at the lowest heat. So let's take a look at how our pilau is coming out. Oh yes, this looks amazing and it smells great. The aromas, look at this. It's so vibrant, has a nice color. We're going to turn this up. It's cooking really nicely. And then we're going to add in our pigeon peas. So it's been about 25 minutes since it's been cooking. And now I'm going to go ahead and add in my pigeon peas to the recipe. And we're going to give it a nice mix. mixing it all up in there. And then we're going to cover this and let this cook down for another 20 minutes. Oh, it smells so good. All right, let's take a look. Oh yeah, look at this pilau. It looks so good. I like my pilau a little more moist. A lot of times, it depends on your preference. Some people like to cook it down where the rice is a little drier. I like mine to have a little more sauce to it. And then I'm gonna add in some fresh scallions or green onions. And I went ahead and chopped up some fresh cilantro, which I love this herb. It is a little stronger than cilantro. So I like to add these herbs on top of my cooked dish, and we're going to give it a nice little turn, getting it all in there. And we're ready to eat, baby. Yes, look at this dish. It is so good. It's a one pot, flavorful chicken dish that has brown rice and peas and carrots and onions. It's so good. I cannot wait to dive into this. It has such great aroma, and like I said, that coconut milk really gives it the flavor that everyone loves. And that's how you make pilau. It's very simple and easy. Please give this a try at home and let me know how it turned out. Please let me know your comments. Leave a comment down below. Please like and, of course, subscribe. I'm also on Instagram if you want to look me up and follow. Thank you for watching Easy Cooking and Living with Ria. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you.